Hey guys, it's Cam from Craft & Tailored, and in this week's episode of What Is On My Wrist, we are talking Tudor Snowflakes. So quickly, I am kind of channeling Morgan King really quick because I am double wristing, so to speak. And the reason why I am double wristing is because I have two Snowflake models, and I've kind of been switching back and forth between the both of them. If you don't know Morgan King, and if you don't understand the reference, I'll provide a link below. Morgan is an awesome collector that is actually here in Los Angeles, and Morgan has some great taste in not only Rolex watches, but some Daytonas, and he's got some great Hoyers. Actually did a talking watches with our friend over at Hodinkee, Ben Clymer. Hence the double wristing reference and kind of the backstory there. But let's talk Tudor for a second. So the first watch that I want to talk about is from 1968, and it is a Tudor Snowflake Submariner, if I can get this one off the wrist here. It's a 7016/0. And this is the first year of the reference, the 7016/0, where we see the snowflake hands on the dial, or snowflake hands and the snowflake dial rather. Tudor Submariners over the past, I would say 3 to 5 years, have also increased in terms of desirability and collectability. And I've been a longtime fan of the reference. If you follow us on Instagram, they are a little bit more accessible in terms of price point without sacrificing things like quality or history and just cool vibe factor. So before we kind of dive into both of these, let's talk about the 7016/0. In 68, we see the introduction of the 7016/0. And this specific example is kind of special because it's a bit of a transitional reference. So we'll do a close-up, but this is actually what we would call a semi-pointed crown guard. So kind of moving out of the earlier part of the 1960s, we see square crown guards, pointed crown guards, things like that. In this case, specifically on this exact reference, in some of the earlier 7016 references, we'll see this kind of semi-pointed crown guard case, which is really, really interesting. There's a strong lug chamfer. The underside of the case is really, really sharp. And even though the crown guards are rounded, we can kind of see that pointed crown guard shape here with a distinctive chamfer down the top side of the crown guard. So what makes a Tudor Snowflake a Tudor Snowflake? As you can see, the nickname comes from this very distinctive dial format as well as the hands. And the reason why Tudor was opting to do this is it was actually a request that came from the Marine Nationale, the French Navy. And basically the idea behind this handset was to have a distinctive and more highly visible dial format. So we have this block style dial. The other thing that is very different is the sweep seconds hand. We actually have like a diamond in the sweep seconds hand. And also we have this kind of diamond or chunky hour hand with also a more of like a sword style minute hand. So you have differentiating features within the minute, hour, and also the sweep seconds hand, and in low light conditions that offered an increased element of visibility for timing things. And so that was a requirement that the Marine Nationale requested of Tudor when they actually went to Tudor to have these watches created for them for military issuance. The model that is on my left wrist here is from 1976, so a little bit later. And it's a 9411/0. So what is the major difference between these two? One incorporates a date complication at the 3 o'clock and one does not. So these are basically, again, like your sub with date and sub without date. In this time period, Rolex and Tudor were basically the same company. It wasn't until later on that Tudor basically shifted from Rolex and kind of became its own independent company. So the cool thing about both of these watches is they are Submariners. So they are branded with Rolex's, Submariner text on the bottom portion or just above the 6 o'clock marker on the dial. The other thing that's really interesting about these watches is that the parts are somewhat interchangeable, especially the case part. So the bezel, the crown, the mid case, very much Rolex. One differentiating factor is the case back design is different with Tudor versus Rolex. So you almost have like this groove pattern here, where the I guess you would call it like the case back opener will fit into the groove on the case back, as opposed to Rolex, which the case back opener fits on the outside. So subtle difference here. It says Oyster case by Rolex Geneva, and there is coronets on the back of the case. The only difference between a Tudor Submariner, outside of again kind of the technical and stylistic features of these being snowflakes, is really the movement. So Tudor leveraged ETA or ETA based movements as opposed to Rolex in-house calibers within the Submariner range. So let's talk a little bit about these specific references and these specific examples, and why I am wearing them and why we're talking about them on this week's episode of What Is on My Wrist. The case is in really, really superb condition, and it is a semi-PCG or semi-pointed crown guard case. The other thing too is I just love the patina on this. It kind of has this orangey, vibey patina, which I think is really, really cool. The other thing too that's really interesting is the dial textures on both of these references is what we would call like a bumpy dial or a lunar surface dial or a pimple dial or a warty dial or whatever. There's all kinds of crazy ass nicknames that guys out there have kind of given these, but I like that in both of these. So this one, the reason why I've been wearing this a lot is again because it has a date function and it also kind of has that funky texture to the dial, has a really pleasing patina. I normally will wear this watch, and this one is kind of been in my personal collection, kind of been for sale. It's one of those ones that I've been struggling with. I've had the watch for a minute. It's a really nice example. This version from 76 also possesses a quick set date function, which I also really, really kind of enjoy. Can I say really one more time? Really, really, really. But it's also matte dial. It also has vibe in it. It's got some character. It's got a little bit of patina. The case has been polished a little bit on this one. I'm pretty sure that this one saw some time in the water. It's got kind of a unique look and feel, and the insert is just killer. It's got like this kind of blue, gray, ghosty insert. So this watch to me, just whenever I see it in my watch roll, I kind of always grab it. I love it. I'm wearing it on a kind of a throwback MN style strap. So the Marine Nationale, their divers, they reused some, I guess it's nylon webbing that was part of their parachute. The cool thing about these is they offer a bit of stretch. So the watch wears really comfortable, but it's kind of a unique and fun strap. So I like Tudors on straps, whether it be a NATO strap or a leather strap. They did come with bracelets. The issued models, I'll say this, did not come with bracelets. So when the French Navy was ordering their Tudors from Rolex at the time, they requested them to not be ordered on a bracelet. So both of these watches at the time of the recording are for sale. Oddly enough, we'll record a video and then we'll post it, and within that week of having posted the video, the watch will sell. So make sure you follow us on our Instagram, as well as check out our website and sign up for our Craft and Tailored Insiders newsletter, because we post a lot of the new watches that are incoming each and every week. We also have a cool article on our blog that kind of takes you through a brief history of the relationship between Tudor and Rolex. So I'll also provide that in a link below. But the history between Tudor and Rolex and kind of the idea behind Tudor is really, really fascinating and cool. So make sure you check out that article as well. So as always, thanks for tuning in, guys. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to check us out on Instagram at Craft and Tailored, and head over to craftandtailored.com for our latest updates and finds, such as these two watches that we were talking about here today. Thanks for tuning in. See you guys later.